Hello everybody, this is Kelly from The Way Home with Bits and Pieces. Today I'm going to share, I'm going to go back in time and share some things from the past growing up. I'm in my 70s and I think at this time in life it's a time that kids of different ages should hear about the past from their parents and their grandparents so that they can understand how we used to live and how things used to be or was not. So I'm going to begin talking about my life from younger years. I was from a family of 7 children. We lived way out in the country, about 8 miles in the country, and my dad, when he was growing up, that's where he was raised, and he was given the home from his mother. And when he got married to my mother, we were raised in a wonderful home. As far as life goes, we were considered poor. What is poor? We were not poor. We were rich in many different ways. My parents spent much time with us and showing us right from wrong. We would go to church every Sunday and every Wednesday, and we grew up that way, that we were not allowed to swear, we weren't allowed to talk bad. We were raised with very good morals, and we got along well. My dad was a very hard worker, and he worked in a sawmill, cutting logs and different things. And when we were very young, my father didn't have a car for a while, and he used to walk to work, which was about 1.5 miles to work, and it was going up the mountain, and he would go to work. And many times as kids in that time, we would walk up and meet him in the afternoon when he was done work, and we would go up to meet him and walk back home with him. Other times when he was coming home, we would hear him whistling. We would open our bedroom window and we would hear him whistling coming down the mountain, and we would be so excited to hear his voice and know that he was coming home and to talk about his day. And my mother was an avid cook. She was an avid gardener. My father was a very avid gardener. So we had very large gardens. We had all kinds left from when my father was very young. There were many different fruit trees planted on our property. We had blackberries, raspberries, currants, grapes, apples, all kinds of apples, and different things. And us children would go up, tell my mother we were going to go and play, but really we would just go up the hill and pick grapes until we got sick, or pick blackberries. We had a beautiful little brook down the road, and we used to catch minnows and build a little pond down by the brook, put boards across so we could cross. That was a lot of fun. We had a hill that went down in the wintertime, and we used to go we'd go skating on the brook. We didn't own any skates, but we skated on the brook. That was a wonderful time. There were many other times that in the fall we would go out with the neighbors and play hide and go seek. We had trees on our sap trees in our yard, and we would go out in the fall and we play hide and go seek after dark. And my mother was always have popcorn ready. Popcorn that her uncle had grown when she was growing up, and it was canned. And we would have popcorn and Kool-Aid, and we would all get together and just have a fun time playing and coming in when it was brisky cold and having that time. My father also worked in the woods cutting wood for our fires. He would go into the deep woods, and there was a woods which would remind you like a Hansel and Gretel story, and he'd be deep in the woods working, and we would go up to meet him something you couldn't do today on your own. You just wouldn't dare to do that. But we would walk through those woods, and we would know, my dad always knew to start whistling. He loved to whistle, and he would start whistling when it was time to come home, so that us kids would know that that's where he was, deep in the woods. And we would meet up with him to come home, and he would have this biggest smile on his face when we would meet him in the woods, and we'd walk home together, and he would tell us stories of his day and the different types of wood and trees and different things. And we would be so happy bouncing along, coming down that mountain to come home, and my mother would have a delicious meal on the table. And like I say, she was an avid cook, and we did not have a lot of meat, but we had delicious meals. We always had desserts. We had lots of fruits and vegetables and casseroles. And like I say, she was a wonderful cook. We always went different places with my mother and father. Like I say, we were considered poor, but I do not believe we were poor. As we went to the fair, they would pile us in my father's truck and take us to the fair, and we'd have a wonderful time. We'd put our blankets in the back of the truck and all of our goodies to go to the fair. My father was a square dance caller, and we used to go up to the neighbors when we were very young. At night, my mother and father would take us with them, and we would have our pillows and blankets to fall asleep on the floor while my father was calling square dances throughout the night, and he also played the harmonica. Our nightly things at night, every night, my mother would play the piano, and we did not have a television. We never had a television growing up, and but my mother and father would, my father would play the harmonica, and my mother would play the piano, and we would have a sing-along together. Those are what real life is all about. That is wonderful times. We used to do many different things. We would play in the woods, we would play in the brook, we would do all different kinds of things, and we lived very close to the lake. And one time, and we were very disciplined. Our parents disciplined us well, but sometimes we'd get into trouble. And one time we went down to the lake, and we wanted to watch the boats come in. And there was a trellis there with the train tracks were right there. And we snuck away, 3 of us would sneak away and go down there to that particular area. And my father would come after us. And we knew what that meant. We would get disciplined, but we knew that when we were disciplined, we definitely had done something wrong, as we could have fallen in the lake and drowned, or gotten hit by the train, or whatever. So we were disciplined for that. There was this huge tree down the road. We used to climb that tree to the very top and look over and watch the boats, the sailboats come into the lake. There were many different things. We had a corn crib. We used to play house. We would use the milkweeds for food, pretending food. We would take choke cherries and make pies out of mud and the choke cherries. We did a lot of things. We didn't have a lot of toys because we didn't need the toys. We had the apple trees to climb. We had many, many things to do that other children probably have never experienced. And I believe by speaking this forth that children can get an idea, and even the adults, of what it was really like. And maybe some of these things people can share that they have done in their life. There were many more things. We used to go to the drive-in theater, and we would pile in the truck. My parents always took us everywhere. We didn't have to stay home when they went. We went with them. We would go to drive-in movies and have our popcorn and hot dogs and all that to sit in the back of the truck and eat while we watched the movies. When we were into teenagers, a couple of us, we wanted to go to square dances. And my parents would take us, and they would sit in the car, and they would sit in the car and watch for us to keep an eye that we were not getting into trouble or leaving the place. They would watch through this big picture window. One time, my brother, he was 16, 17, and my parents are waiting outside for us, and my brother's on the dance hall, and he kissed this girl. And my mother got out of the car, walked into the dance hall, walked across the floor, and took my brother by the ear and warned him this would not happen again. My parents were very strict with us, but they were very loving. There were many things that we did that I cannot fathom that the kids today are getting away with. There are many things that we did that were fun things, exciting things. And the thought of when anybody, one thing I have learned through the years, that if anyone considers anyone poor, that I look at that and I search that person's heart, I search that person's mind, and realize that the description of poor is not necessarily what it sounds like. My sister and I grew up together, one of my sisters, and we were 11 months apart. She has passed away now, and it just touches my heart because we had some fun times apart. So we were born in the same year. She was born in January, I was born in December. Well, when we started kindergarten, we started kindergarten together, and my mother bought us these red and white polka dotted dresses with white and red polka dotted shoes to match. And she put our hair in braids. And I will never forget the day that we climbed on that school bus, just as proud as we could be, holding hands to go to school on our first day of school. And my sister was, like I say, 11 months older than I was, but I was kind of a different person. I had a tendency to take control of things. And my sister was very timid and shy and quiet, and I would always step in and fight her battles for her. And I'll never forget that. And I lost my sister like 4 years ago. And I'll always remember those memories. There are many other memories to remember. I probably won't share it all at this time, but there will be time to time I will, as it comes to my mind, be sharing a lot of different things in my life, of a lot of wonderful times. My mother was an avid canner. She was an avid cook. She won different prizes at the fair for different recipes that she had. We were not allowed in her kitchen, but we learned to cook. We learned, one thing my mother did, she would have parties. She was brought up to have parties. She was brought up by an aunt and uncle, and so we had learned etiquette from the very beginning. So we knew how to give parties and how to do things the right way. So anyway, these are the things I have to share today. It's kind of a short video, but it's just some memories I wanted to share. And I want to share them because I hope others share their memories with different people on YouTube and share their lives, because so many things are so different today. And the children, grandchildren, just don't know about these things because they are not shared. Even my children probably, when they hear this, will not remember my sharing some of this from years past. So anyway, this will be the end of my video, and God bless. The Lord loves you, and He has a plan for each and every one of us. Thank you.